Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to all participants and our honorable speaker. So thank you for joining our workshop. For your information, Dr. Hamimi is already provide us with the workshop, the first series last week, and this is the second series. For those who are not attended the last week workshop, I would like to introduce once more our honorable speaker for today, Associate Professor Dr. Nurkhamimi Zainuddin from Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia. And then he is an Associate Professor at Faculty of Major Language Studies, Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia. He has a PhD in Computer Assisted Language Learning from International Islamic University Malaysia. And his research focus in teaching Arabic as a second language and technology enhanced pedagogy. He was also the Deputy Chairman of the Malaysian E-Learning Council for Public University, MEPTA. And he is currently the editor of International Journal of Language Education and Applied Linguistics. He is one of the recipients of USIM Excellence Service Award for the year 2016 and 2018, and Outstanding Open Educational Resources OER Award 2017. Actively involved in numerous researches in the area of open and flexible learning. Instead, he coined his own term with his blog, a foreign language open online course, by adapting the concept of learning buffet. Without further ado, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Nurkhamimi to start his sharing. So before that, for all participants, if you would like to ask the question, please unmute your microphone, or you can state your question in the chat room. So I pass to you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all participants and secretariat for this workshop. So basically, this is a second series of enhancing students' learning to flipped learning. So I guess last week on Thursday, we have already shared a little bit about what we should do, or we need to think first. We need to take into consideration, and we need to take into account before applying the flipped learning or flipped classroom for our teaching and learning processes. So let me just recap what has been discussed last week in our first series. Okay, we have discussed a little bit about the sage on the stage. Okay, are we still applying the same sage on stage virtually, and the learning pyramid, and the most important thing, some kind of a misconception about the flipped classroom. Okay, and then the 60 seconds in internet minutes, and this is a kind of video, and how can we already discussed about how can we make the classroom as dynamic as the world around us. And this is some kind of the 21st century learners preferences and scenario. And now we are having the same scenario, and we talk about Grab University concept, whereby university has changed to some kind of agency. Lecturers has been the drivers and riders, students are the customers, and the learning materials are the mobile apps. So right now, even though some of the UA or Universiti Awam already permitted, give some permission to bring back their students 70%, 80%, 90%, or even 100%, but I can still see some of class has been run in a hybrid mode, whereby 7 weeks in online mode, and the rest will be in the face-to-face. So right now we can see, yesterday I have one class in with my student, third year student. So they have not seen the faculty since 2021 or 2020. So right now they are already in their third year. So you just imagine where when they come and they get back to the class, they feel that, oh, this is my third year, but this is the first time I jejakkan kaki, or I enter my class, or my lecture theatre, or my tutorial class, right? So we already discussed about the 7 habits of highly effective educators who use technology, right? And Inshallah, after we finish our workshop, I will share with the secretariat the slide for today, inshallah. Okay. Right. So we're talking about learning style, but I believe that what type of learner are you? So I think we can take 5 to 7 minutes to answer this survey. So all participants, I would like all of you to log on to bit.do/FLOOCLS. So Secretary, perhaps you may share the link in the chat room. So the questionnaire will be like this, okay? It's a learningstylesonline.com. So this questionnaire, of course, is a free of charge. That's why we have some kind of the advertisement on the right side. So I guess some most of the time the iklan or the advertisement is not that good. Okay, so pardon me, but please just focus on the memletics learning style questionnaire. So this is I guess we have 70 items. So don't take so much long time or so much time on this questionnaire. You just answer either 0, 1, or 2. Okay, very fast, because later on you may apply the same questionnaire with your students. So this is some kind of the questionnaire that I've been in fact yesterday I asked my student to answer this question, to know whether they are kinesthetic, they are more into visual learners, they are auditory learners, or they are kinesthetic learners, right? So the statement is nothing like me. 0, 1, the statement is partially like me. 2, the statement is very much like me. Okay, so I will answer with all of you too. Okay, so all of you will get this kind of score and learning styles graph. Okay. So as I mentioned, we have been asked by Dr. Azhar last week about perhaps some of the students may have more than one learning styles or learning preferences, but which one is more dominant? Okay, so like myself, I have 14 marks for my social, for my oral, and for my verbal. So that means I'm a social person. That's why when I teach, I would like to have some kind of grouping. Okay, and when I learn, I prefer study group rather than study on my own pace. Okay, and I am also oral, auditory, and verbal people lah. So I'm not so logical. So my mathematics is not that good, and solitary as well as physical. Perhaps that's why I'm not in engineering, or I'm not in a medical medicine, or not even in architecture lah. So so this is how. And for your information, we can also use this kind of learning style. Let's say we have one batch of a first year, second year, third year, and fourth year student. Let's say we have a 200 student, 300 student. So from this kind of learning styles graph, okay, from this learning styles course, when I was in an e-learning center in USIM, we use this kind of data to propose to buy a new IT equipment or PMP equipment to the Naib Chancellor. So when the Naib Chancellor or TNCA asks us as a learning center, Hamimi, what is your stand to buy a new LCD, new 360 camera, to buy swivel, to buy new equipment? Why we need to subscribe Kahoot? We need to subscribe Movely, okay, Powtune, so on and so forth. So this kind of data, I told Dato' NC, this is kind of data because 80% of our students are more into visual learners. That's why we need some kind of visual aid to buy this one as well. So this will help you, okay, to even structure the shape in your class. That's why when we want to modify the structure in our class, L shape, U shape, S shape. So this kind of learning style can also guide us to do. So right now we can see if we arrange our student in our class, okay, rendah or shorter person will be in front, and the taller person will be at the back. But if we can see from here, actually visual learners and the oral learners should be at the back. Visual learners in front and auditory learners at the back, because auditory learners, the hearing, okay, they can hear very loud. They don't even need to look at the watch closely the lecturers, okay, the lectures. But auditory learners, they can. That's why in Islam, when we say about Imam Ash-Shafi'i, okay, he's some kind of a fall asleep in class, nampak macam mengantuk, but he actually memorized everything, because I guess he is some kind of auditory learners. Okay, so we have done with the learning style graph. May I know most of the participants here who get the visual scores, highest for visual scores? We have for social, Dr. Mazrina.
Sedang menjawab. Sedang menjawab, Dr. Bibi. Saya lambat sedikit. Sedang menjawab.
It's okay.
Okay.
Ada yang dapat highest for oral and verbal like me, or in social? Okay, it's okay, never mind. I guess let us just proceed with our slide for today. So for those who obtained highest mark for, you may put in the chat room logical, 14 or 18 or solitary. Okay. So this is some kind of a VARK, or visual, auditory, reading, and kinesthetic rubric that can be used to measure the learning style for our students. So you have so many, but this one, I guess, is very simple one, quite thorough. We have 70 items, and it can be translated into some other languages like Arabic, Mandarin, Japanese, Korean. So this is what is good for from this. I can see from learningstyleonline.com that this questionnaire can be translated into so many languages. Okay, it's a bilingual. Okay, so Dr. Shuhada, I got higher for logical. May I know, Dr. Shuhada, you are from which faculty?
Praya University. I teaching mathematics.
Mathematics. See, tengok Dr. Mazina, see, I'm not the BOMO, but this is a BOMO for education lah. Okay, that's why people from mathematics, and she got higher for logical. That's why when
It seems like Dr. Hamimi, she choose a correct field based on her personality and her interest. Yes.
And interestingly, when I give the same talk to the counselors from schools, okay, this kind of inventory or learning style inventory can help the counselors to give some advices to the student about their future career. But amazingly, that this inventory or learning style would rather change from time to time. Maybe we see our children, standard 1, standard 6, and then tingkatan 1, form 1, maybe the learning style is more individual. But after form 5, the learning style will expand more or even change from one sector to another sector, because of the experience, because of the exposure, because maybe Papa and Mama always use some kind of visual aid in their home, in their house, to help them learn, to teach them. So that's why they are more into, they will love to have some kind of visual and audio visual. Because logical, maybe we have some kind of friends and relatives, our parents always ask about, what are the logical behind this? What are the logical aspect behind this? Apa yang logiknya tentang perkara ini? Okay, and or maybe our parents are statistician, are mathematician, so that's why some kind of it is some kind of inherited too.
Betul. Dr. Mimi, bila saya tengok, sebab since saya tengah menjawab lagi, saya tengok bila Dr. Mimi mention about the category of this learning style, dia ada elemen like social, kan? So means this learning style dia embed dengan element of personality of that particular person, kan? Kalau saya tengok dekat sini kan Dr. Mimi, it's not only they focus kepada audio, visual, like we play Kahoot last week, kan? It's kinesthetic, audio, auditory, kan? Tapi this one dia juga dia kaitkan dengan social punya element. So means untuk this type of learning style, dia ada connection dengan personality that particular person lah, kan Dr. Hamimi?
Yes. So the auditory and visual learners help us to provide what kind of materials we want to provide to students. But the social one will be on how to run the discussion, on how to run the ice breaking, on how to run the team, pair and share activities. And that's why from there, from Dr. Su, visual 19, solitary 16, and physical 15. Okay, Dr. Su Wei Xing, you are from which faculty?
Doktor, Bahasa dan Komunikasi.
Bahasa dan Komunikasi. Alright. Okay. So you are teaching English?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. So but surprisingly, ada juga dekat situ physical. So perhaps in your language activities, you akan suka kan if your lecturer asks you to do, scrapbook instead of doing some kind of PowerPoint presentation, right? You suka buat language activity yang bersifat kalau ada crossword yang ada physical, you may prefer that, isn't it, Dr. Su?
Yes, Doctor. Drama, theater, you name it, yeah.
Okay. Alright. Kalau buat drama pun bab-bab yang buat skrip, okay, let others do. But the drama, dia punya pelakon tu, let me do the acting work, sebab you suka physical. And you will learn language better when you speak it up and when you share, okay, rather than just reading the script. Tapi kalau you dramakan dia, then baru you akan kata orang acquire the language better lah. Okay, interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Su. Right, let us go back. Okay, so this is sebab last week we don't have much time to browse the questionnaire. So this series we have more ample time. So I just intentionally sharing with you about the instrument so that we can share and apply it with our students. Okay. And the idea of having this kind of learning preferences or learning style is for us to prepare our food buffet. So right now, let's say we have in our class 50% auditory, 40% tactile, and 10% kinesthetic. So we already know what kind of materials that we should or we need to share with our student. So normally in my class, let's say for chapter 1, lesson number 1, I will pass with to my student. I have PDF, I have video, I have MP3, and also I have the animation. If I have some kind of animation in my question bank or in my program or in my subject bank, I will share with all of them. Let's say, like we mentioned and discussed last week, perhaps for the first timer, if this subject is something new to you, perhaps you may need more and more time to prepare the learning buffet or the food buffet, not a food buffet, learning buffet for your student. But as the time goes by, semester 2, semester 3, year 2, year 3, so this kind of artifact, learning artifact will be rich. When you top up here, you beef up there, so your learning buffet will be rather enriched, and you may cater all types of learning preferences. Okay, we have done this. Okay. Now, let us go to our flipped classroom model. So I guess this kind of model have been used by several experts, and it has been applied by all of you or most of you, whereby outside the class, the component traditionally delivered in class, okay, and such as lectures are delivered outside of class via web-based materials like videos, demos, and tutorials, simulation and games. And the benefit to provide faculty with more time in class to work with individual students and allow students to master content at their own pace. And when we are in class, it is the time for us for deeper engagement with content, while the instructor provide guidance through collaborative projects, individual and group problem solving, and peer-based learning activities. So actually, the flipped classroom design process is all about, we are using the same higher order thinking and lower order thinking by Bloom, whereby we start with remember, understand, and apply. So this kind of lower order thinking or lots outside the class, okay, whereby we select the content, we select delivery method, whether to use audio, visual, video, and create or find content. So, but in class, we just focus more on higher order thinking skills or higher order thinking activities, whereby we ask our students to analyze, to evaluate, to create, or even to synthesize, okay, the news, the report, or the case study. Okay, so I always adapt and adopt the 70-30% from Prof. Abdul Karim from USM. So it's in 30% lecture. We don't say that lecture is not good, but some of the subjects need to have the lecture. But 70% we more go into more activity, not activity, activities based, problem based, project based, or scenario based, or even use the case study. And FLN, flipped learning network, distinguishes between a flipped classroom and flipped learning, because some of us ask about what are the differences between flipped classroom or flipped learning. Are they the same? Actually, flipping a class does not necessarily lead to flipped learning. Okay. Some lectures where I have flipped my class, so I have done my flipped learning lah. It's not necessarily lead to flipped learning, because many educators may already flip their classes by having students read text outside of class, watch supplemental videos, or solve additional problems. But basically, flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to individual learning space. So it's a transformation from the group learning space to individual learning space. So I think we have already applied our flipped learning for the pandemic COVID-19, because we are shifting from group learning space to individual learning space. But the big question mark here, how we can flip our learning effectively, because the resulting group space in transform into a dynamic and interactive learning. The thing is dynamic and interactive, not just we PDF our textbook and then we say that we already flip our class. We digitize our textbook, we digitize our notes, we change from the textbook to videos, so we may declare to people that we are already flipped our class. Not really, okay? Because we need to have the some kind of a dynamic and interactive learning environment where the educator guides student and the guide student as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. So another question mark here on how we can Guide is one thing. Dynamic is another thing. Third one is interactive. But number 4 is engage. How do we increase the engagement between the student with student with lecturers, and lecturers with the students? All right, so these are the 4 pillars of FLIP, okay, by FLN. Okay, number 1 is flexible environment, whereby flipped learning allow a variety of learning modes. So that means doesn't have to be only one mode. We have more than one modes, okay, variety of learning modes. Educators often physically rearrange their learning spaces to accommodate a lesson or unit, or to support either group work or independent study. And they create flexible spaces in which students choose when and where they learn. And so basically, UNIMAS, USAM, all UAs, let's say we want, let's say faculty decided to add more students, okay, to have more intakes. So with the flipped learning, actually, we can have more students without having or without building more buildings. Because right now, using the flipped learning style or flipped learning approaches, actually, we create flexible spaces in which students choose where and they learn. And furthermore, educators who flip their classes are flexible in their expectation of students' timelines for learning and their assessment of student learning. So if we can have, let's say, UNIMAS, you may have this kind, you may adapt this kind of a checklist, F1, F2, F3. That means if I establish spaces and time frames that permit students to interact and reflect on their learning as needed, check. F2, I continually observe and monitor students to make adjustment as appropriate, check. F3, I provide students with different ways to learn content and demonstrate mastery, check. That means the first F, you have already got it, okay, for flipped learning. The second one is the L, which is a learning culture, whereby in the traditional teacher-centered model, the teacher is the primary source of information. But right now, by contrast, the flipped learning model deliberately shifts instruction to a learner-centered approach, where in-class time is dedicated to explore topics in greater depth and creating rich learning opportunities. As a result, students are actively involved in knowledge construction as they participate in and evaluate their learning in a manner that is personally meaningful. So this learning culture, I guess, have been applied well in constructivism learning theory, whereby as a teacher, as a lecturers, educators, we might guide our student. So we have been, we are the learning coach for them. And the checklist here, L1, I give student opportunities to engage in meaningful activities without the teacher being central. Teacher are still there, we are still there, but without us being central. So that means students can be our little ambassador for the subject too. L2, I scaffold these activities and make them accessible to our students through differentiation and feedback. So rather than you just give activities, do these activities and we will discuss later, we need to scaffold actually, right? Okay, the acronym I is intentional content, whereby flipped learning educators continually think about how they can use flipped learning model to help students develop conceptual understanding as well as procedural fluency. They determine what they need to teach and what materials students should explore on their own. Educators use intentional content to maximize classroom time in order to adopt methods of student-centered active learning strategies depending on grade level and subject matter. So the checklist, I prioritize concept, I create or curate relevant content. See, it doesn't have to be you create the content all the time, but you can also curate. Kita kumpulkan and then kita we deliver to our student using our own flavor. Use the nature of your subject flavor. Okay, let's say we have videos from Cambridge, from MIT, from New Zealand, from UK, US, but we can explain to our student, use your own flavor. So student will get engaged because you are not just, copy and paste the learning materials, but you use your own way to describe to them. I3, I differentiate to make content accessible and relevant to all students. Relevant. The keyword is not just accessible, but also relevant to all students. Because people from Dr. Gabriel, your score, eh? Okay, Dr. Gabriel, visual 14, social 8, okay, physical 10, oral 6. Okay, you are not a good listener, I guess. Verbal 9, solitary 13, logical 8. Okay, so you got high mark for
I
visual.
like to talk, that's why.
You're from medicine, right?
Yes, under medical faculty.
Okay. So when you learn from visual, okay, better, right? Better than the textbook, right?
Yes, visual and doing it myself.
Okay.
That's
Right.
why my area is chemistry. So chemistry, you have to do a lot of experiments.
So if I want you to memorize 100 microorganisms, you cannot memorize it. But if I give you the sample in the labs, I guess you can memorize it easily, right?
Yes.
All right.
So once you give me the sample, I have to find the name, then I can remember. But if you give me a list, that won't last very long. I mean, I can memorize, but maybe after 1 or 2 days, I've forgotten already.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing with us. All right. Okay. And acronym P which is a professional educator. The role of a professional educator is even more important and often more demanding in a flipped classroom than in traditional one. So this is why CALM, UNIMAS always conducting more and more workshops in order for us to obtain or to achieve this number 4 acronym, which is professional educator, not just educator in your related or relevant field, but we also would like to have some kind of professional educator because we need to have because this is more demanding in a flipped classroom than in the traditional or conventional one. During class time, they continually observe their student, providing them with feedback relevant in the moment and assessing their work. So when they say that e-learning or the hybrid learning is more relaxing, I would dare say it is not, right? It is more tiring, exhausting. Am I right, people? Am I right?
Yes, Dr. Habimi. I think we have to do a double work compared face-to-face classes. Yes.
E-learning is simple. You just give if you are not a professional educator, yeah, you may say that. But if we are concerned and worrying about our student, e-learning or even flipped learning it's a double work. It's a double work. Okay.
Exactly.
Right? Because we need to connect with each other to improve their instruction, accept constructive criticism. We ask our students to do some kind of a critics, okay, and tolerate control chaos in their classroom. Chaos means challenges lah, no internet lah, low bandwidth, okay, sending their work, okay, after deadline, okay, while professional educators take on less visible prominent roles in a flipped classroom, they remain the essential ingredient that enables flipped learning to occur. So the challenge is I make myself available to our student. So I think we already talked about this, but at the same time, we need to inculcate and nurture the adab, the akhlaq or the good manner to our student. So if you want to text me after class hour, make sure you make it, you text us in our group, not to personally to me, okay, because I have my own family. Okay, you must respect that too. Okay, P2, I conduct ongoing formative assessment during class time through observation and by recording data to inform future instruction. So formative assessment is some kind of assessment that doesn't reflect any marks. Okay, we just would like to measure the achievement of our student. Okay, but summative is a assessment that normally will give some kind of marks to measure student what they have about their learning attainment. Okay, so P3, I collaborate and reflect with other educators and take responsibility for transforming my practice. So 80% from the flipped classroom and the flipped learning articles from any journals, I can see it's a collaborative work. If you want to just report on your work, so it will be tiring. But if you collaborate, okay, you compare with the flipped learning in your faculty with the other faculty, or for the same faculty from other university, it would be some kind of a good article. And normally Scopus and ISI journals, normally they will accept this kind of work. Okay, rather than there's a case study from your, it's not a broad, it's not a wide cases. So you need to differentiate between comparable between 3 universities or 3 faculties from 1 university. So this is some kind of a good article that will be accepted in this kind of journals. Okay, teacher-centered classroom. Okay, so normally this is some kind of conventional setting whereby a teacher as director, we have the content, we have the process, we have the product, and we have students as consumers. So teacher will do the planning, okay, do the curriculum, the research, assignment, practice, and student work will completely individually, predetermined format of and resources, presentation, we have technology use and assessment. So me myself, during my bachelor, during my master, I guess I'm still having this kind of teacher-centered classroom. And we don't claim here that teacher-centered classroom is not good. It's not bad. It's not that it's bad. Actually, it is good. But if you can see right now, our students are ready to enhance their classroom to be more like a student-centered classroom, whereby students as creators, we have the product, we have the content and the process in a large circle right here, and teacher or educators or lecturers as guide. Okay, whereby when we do the planning, we will ask our student, we will get them involved for more flexible schedule, and we can collaborate with them with the assessment criteria, with the curriculum set by teachers and students, and it is some kind of interdisciplinary resources. Students will choose these resources, but we guide them with the options, whether they can make it as a text from web or from peers or even from the community. When we ask them to go to the community to get some kind of resources, this is some kind of the student-centered classroom setting too. Okay, and when we do some research, students ask questions, we can ask them to conduct research or case study, draw conclusion and share findings. So students will say, oh, Dr. Hami always get us involved, okay, to conduct research, to ask the to go to Kuala Lumpur, to go to Bintulu, to go to Kuching, to meet and greet with the community and ask them about our subject too. Okay, related collaboration, work with peers, teachers, and outside experts. It also help us on self-management, whereby we can ask them on problem solving, make decision. Decision would be coming from the student. Like in a PBL setting, problem-based learning. Normally, in PBL, I might see that some of the PBL the problem are coming from the lecturers. Okay, whereby we can see a PBL right now, the student should be the problem finders in PBL, not just ask them to find the solution or the resolution, but the problem finders would be the students. It can be like, it is not like we just lepas tangan, no, but we ask the student, because in the real life situation, who would be the problem finders? The student themselves. Or else in our real life situation, there's still, Dr. Mimi, what are the problems? We don't have the problems. But right now, you should find the problems. Or in the real life situation, they should find the hindrance. They should find the obstacles. They should find the threats. Because in SWOT, we have a strength, we have weaknesses, we have the opportunity, and we also have threats. So if we don't train the student to find the problems right now, so they will have some kind of problem when they join the workforce. Okay. Technology use, formative assessment, whether ongoing or check progress against goals. Application, learnings applied to authentic contexts, make connection to future learning goals, right? And student work, we can ask them to make some kind of e-portfolios, often created collaboratively. We can use a Google Drive, we can use a Dropbox, we can use a Blend Share, okay? And also for summative assessment, we have conducted by teachers and students. So first week, second week, third week, teachers will or educators will conduct the evaluation, the assessment. Week number 4, we can start ask our student to give some kind of autonomy for them to conduct the checklist or to conduct the assessment. Okay, simple assessment, so we can test them. So we will give some kind of empowerment to our students. So this is some kind of a student-centered classroom setting. Right, so I would like to share with all of you about the pedagogy. It's not a pedagogy, it's a pedagogy wheel. Okay, what is pedagogy wheel? It is an everyday tools that can be readily used by everyday educators, from curriculum planning and development to writing learning objectives and designing centered activities. You may find it from Google. You just type pedagogy wheel. Okay, I guess right now is the version 5.0 or 5.2. Okay, and pedagogy wheel also, the idea is for the users to respond to the challenges that the wheel presents for their teaching practices and to ask themselves the tough questions about their choices and methods. So this is a pedagogy wheel version 5.0 for Android by Alan Carrington, okay, from Adelaide, South Australia. So from this pedagogy wheel, you before you decide to use which application from your iPad, from your iPhone, from your Android devices, you may choose the word here first. The 6 categories, 6 segments from the blue, whether you want them to remember, understand, to apply, to analyze, evaluate, and create. So the action verbs are also here. From the MQA 2.0, we have some kind of action verbs, right? But also in pedagogy, we can have them to collaborate. If you want them to, kita tengok, we just refer to our learning outcome. If your learning outcome to define, to duplicate, you just find from here, associate, to contrast, to annotate, to explain. So you may, your interest might go to this apply. Okay, if you to detect, to debate, to defend, you may use this kind of color, yellow color. And then the activities. Okay, we have so many, more than hundreds activities here: labeling, annotation, scrapbooking, drawing diagram, databases, simulation, judgment. So you can just copy these activities and put in your course teaching plan, okay, or in your learning course learning outcome. It may help us. And the last but not least, according to my diagram just now, after we have finished with the Bloom taxonomy and then the action verb activities, now this is the time for us to think about the application that might help us. Okay, and Alhamdulillah, all these applications are free of charge. The most important thing, free of charge. Okay. And the outer layer, which is a SAMR model, which is substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So substitution is more like into this one. Substitution is just, you may use your WhatsApp to substitute your face-to-face class. If you want to augment it, that means this is a substitute with a functional improvement. Or if you want to use your apps as a significant task redesign, so you might use a modification. Or if you want to new tasks previously inconceivable, so you might use the terms redefinition. Okay, you might use this kind of a pedagogy wheel later on. Okay, so according to Nightingale, 2006, so it will help us as educators. Sometimes we want our students to think critically and making judgment, but we are some kind of confused what kind of activities that really might help us. So this checklist will help me a lot actually, because if I want to my student to develop arguments, so I might use literature review, case study, essay, practical experiment, project, or report. Okay, same goes to solving problems and developing plans, demonstrating knowledge and understanding. Everything from short answer question, report boleh, presentation boleh, MCQ boleh, essay boleh, case study pun boleh. But if you want them to designing and creating and performing, okay, maybe from the Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Drama, macam like in UITM, they have a Faculty of Film. Normally, they will ask them to do some kind of either project or report, okay, or performing procedure and demonstrating techniques, okay, like in FKAB, kejuruteraan alam bina, Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry. Normally, practical experiment is more like it. Okay. And also for assessing and managing information, this is some kind of, according to Nightingale, will help us. Okay, suggested based on research. If I would like our student to go to do more into managing and developing oneself, working cooperatively, working independently, learning independently, being self-directed, managing time, managing tasks, and organizing. So this is some kind of activities that may help us, and also in communicating. So on the leveraging technology, of course, as most things in life, we should be cognizant of the shortcomings and dependent on technology. Too much of a good things also run the risk of becoming ineffective, right? And technology should always be used in tandem with the pedagogical principle. Pedagogical principles. It's not only the only thing, but it will add value, would never replace good teacher. Right, so there are three components that constitute good lesson plan, as we already apply in our teaching and learning. We have number one, learning outcomes, two, learning activities, and also assessment. So there are some kind of general approach to planning, designing, and delivering flipped classroom. Step number one, okay, plan overall instructional strategies and learning design. So we need to plan the instructional strategies and learning design. Okay. So there are many models, but this kind of model, I have been using this since 2010 or 2011, about a backward design model. Okay, it's a teaching from the book Teaching for Understanding. So number one is to determine learning goals and objectives. So we need to establish what learners should know and be able to do by the end of the course, and transfer of knowledge to other challenges. Okay. And number two, plan assessment. They are ongoing, high and low stakes, aligned with learning goals and objectives. or we have a assessment of varying types such as problem or case analysis, quizzes, and synthesizing information through reflection and discussion. And number 3, plan learning activities that are minds-on and hands-on, encourage exploration and align with learning goals and objectives. To define scope and learning outcomes, right? So some of the lecturers, educators who like to use a flipped learning, they might ask, how do I start? Where should I start? How do you determine what can be flipped? So my humble advice would be start small and do it well. So the transition from the conventional to flipped classroom, actually, we need to go to the informal flip. So maybe perhaps the frequent asked question, the text, the notes, you can ask your student to study prior coming to class. And then from there, okay, as you grow bigger and bigger. So for the first semester, maybe perhaps you might ask to flip a little bit about your class, to flip more lectures, but only 1 or 2 expect from your LO from maybe 7 week, 10 week, week number 10, week number 13 or 14, you may flip a little bit. You may do some kind of from the group setting to the individual setting. Go to formal flip and then the micro flip, and then the last would be the macro flip, right? Instead of flipping your class, first one, to define your learning LO, to provide content, and then do some kind of pre-class activities, in-class activities, and post-class activities. So maybe perhaps come UNIMAS can translate this kind of step number 1 to 5 to the Excel sheet or to the some kind of table. You put a scope objective, content, pre-class, in-class, post-class. So this kind of template can be shared with the faculty members. So then they can just fill in what are the scope and objective, because only SME or subject matter expert know the scope and objective, the content, the activities for pre, in, and post-class. Right, step number 3, create or curate content or learning resources. Okay, the main paradigm shift in flipped classroom is to make the content available to the learners, to enable them to learn the materials prior coming to the class. And there are 3 ways to generate content, whether you create original content or curate content, or and. Curate content or and design tasks that would require learners to create or curate content. So it's either us, okay, to create or curate, and we can also design a task for students to create and curate their own content. So it's a pedagogy whereby we can ask our student to be our co-pilot. Right, step number 4, plan pre-class activities. Okay, we give students an example and ample opportunity and time to explore and study the content before class. Give students an incentive to prepare for class, any type of incentive. Design a mechanism for monitoring student progress. Design a mechanism for assessing student understanding and providing feedback. Sometimes we ask them to give feedback, but we don't respond back to their feedback. So they will some kind of board lah. Alah, Dr. Mazlina ni bagi feedback banyak lah, tapi tak cakap apa-apa pun. Kan? And develop and facilitate in-class activities that focus on high-level cognitive skills. Rather than please state about this, please state how many, please state 3 types of blah, blah, blah. Please state 5 types of blah, blah, blah. Now, this is not a high-level cognitive skills. Okay, and some of the example of pre-class activities including annotated screencast, student-created content, animation, podcast, open education resources, web resources, and curated resources. Step number 5, plan in-class activities. Okay, 3 aspects of designing learning activities will be some kind of, first one is engage, design appropriate learning activities that will engage students at various levels of cognitive domain of Bloomberg taxonomy. Interact, design appropriate learning activities that will encourage students to interact with their peers. So like in WebEx, in WhatsApp group, we can have some kind of breakout rooms whereby they can interact with their peers without the assistant or without the attendance of the lecturer. And also is action design appropriate learning activities that would allow the student to do and create tangible output. Okay. So some example of in-class activities like problem solving, role play, brainstorming, think, pair and share, polling, okay, idea exploration, demonstration, case study and scenario, and also storytelling. Step number 6, plan post-class activities. Okay, I have shared in my Facebook too about 12 ways to increase student participation, because right now in our WebEx, in our video conference, it's like some kind of a click here and click there. So there are 12 ways that I might propose in this particular workshop. First one is to show them the goal of the activity. Okay. Number 2, strategize, do teamwork and let students answer together. 3, bonding, let the student express themselves in their own way. Number 4, demonstrate how to participate. Right now, students, they don't know how to participate, so we must demonstrate. See, it's some kind of spoon feed, right? But in the first class, we might show them and we might demonstrate how to participate. Okay, you can choose chat box, you can use WhatsApp, you can either email me, you can use this one, synchronous or asynchronous. You can, if your internet is not that good, you may pass your answer to me by SMS, maybe. Okay. Number 5, gamify, use gamification. Number 6, share, have an open share time. Number 7, time, set a time limit on the activity to increase urgency. Okay, I will give you like 5 days. There's no urgency lah. So normally student will answer on the last day. Okay, but okay, I give you 10 minutes. So we create some kind of the urgency, so student will, some kind of aware about the activity. Grade, disconnect from grades, so they can contribute and not affected by the grade. Disconnect from grades. So don't worry, guys. This is no mark for this participation. So don't worry lah. Normally you will afraid that I will deduct your marks. That's why you don't participate, right? So no worry. This kind of assessment, there will be no grade for it. Okay, you will get excellent. You will get mumtaz. You will get good. You will get try again. Okay, there will be some kind of grade from me lah. Fail, show them you don't know everything and it's okay. Okay, sometimes we need to fail ourselves too. Okay, dare to fail. Show them you don't know everything and it's okay. We are not professor know it all. Okay, we are professor in language, doctor in ICT, doctor in security, cyber security, but we don't know everything and it's okay. Okay, not to know everything lah. Resources, give them the resources to participate. Not just to participate, but we also supply them with resources. Survey, ask the student how they like to participate. And give them a real life problem to solve. Right, so the teaching method, technology versus teacher and student centeredness. So left side, you can see it's a teacher-centered. Direct instruction is still teacher-centered. Kinesthetic learning, flipped classroom is still teacher-centered. But if you have the high technology, you may use the flipped classroom, but it still can be like some kind of teacher-centered in the middle of between teacher-centered and student-centered. But if you are more into student-centered, if you have a low technology, you can use differentiated instruction and expectationary dictationary learning. And if you have the high technology, high bandwidth, you can use game-based learning, personalized learning, and also inquiry-based learning. On my right side, let's say in class, you have, because some of the lecturers complain about the low bandwidth, high bandwidth. If you have a low bandwidth, you can choose reading text, email, discussion board, collaborative documents, and group chat and messaging. If you have a low immediacy and high immediacy, but you have a high bandwidth, you have a very good Maxis broadband, you have a very good Unify. You can use, if you want a low immediacy, it's a very low immediacy, you can use a pre-recorded audio, a synchronous discussion with audio or video, and you can have a pre-recorded video. Or if you want high immediacy, if you want to create urgency, that means you need to have the video conferences like audio conferences like we are having right now. So we are more into, because we are having a WebEx right now, Bengkel workshop, because we have the high bandwidth and we want the high immediacy, because all the responses we like to have it right now. Okay, this might guide you lah. All right, so consider carefully when you flip. Deliver foundational content before lesson, only foundational. Okay, be well organized or your student will get confused. Okay, sekejap suruh tengok video ni, and then this time around FAQ, and then coming back to video, dia kata Dr. Hamimi is not well organized lah, student will get confused. Dr. Hamimi is flipping himself, not flipping the learning, but he is flipping himself 360, and explain why they are learning in this way. Why? Because they always want to know why. Not just what, but why. Or they will not trust it. Or they will not trust it. Okay. So feedback at a PDPR, okay, or working from home or learning at home, plan a lot of stops along the way. When a student is right next to you, it is easy to notice something and provide that quick on-the-fly feedback. When teaching from distance, that is not possible. So plan a stop lah along the way, not just without full stop, without comma. So you need to know where to pause, where to rewind, where to replay, where to repeat. Okay, so not just go 30 minutes or 1 hour non-stop giving lectures and do the activity to the student. Encourage peer feedback. Build in peer feedback by utilizing discussion board, small groups such as WhatsApp, Zoom, WebEx, and self-directed collaboration. And also be seen and be heard. You have facial expression and tones in your voice that students relate to whether you know it or not. In addition to recording the initial content, also record individualized feedback. All right. So I guess would be my last slide, because I want to open for question and answer. When I did this flipped classroom in 2011 or 2012, there are lots of my friends, even my colleagues, they don't even believe about it, because they feel but we just go along and then we just continue, but we will be some kind of anonymous. Will be nobody, will not appear on TV, right? But when the student come back after graduation, thank you, doctor. You have set up our flip, because right now in our workforce, we need to study first prior entering the meeting. Okay, now we know already how, when our bosses ask us to set up a video conference, a video meeting with the international parties, with our counterpart. So we don't feel awkward about it, because we already know how to do it. Okay, and we also entertain our client, whether they are auditory clients, they are visual clients, so we can explain to them and we can describe to them on what kind of advertisement, what kind of advices, what kind of the resources that we can give to our customers, to our clients, for them, because it will, some kind of enrich and help us in our business too. Right, so perhaps we have 50 minutes more. So I open to the floor if you have any, not just question, if you have any concern, if you have any, if you want to share your thoughts, please.
There is a question, Dr. Hamimi, daripada Dr. Azra. How we can enhance the flipped learning in this era or during the pandemic via online learning?
Right, so how can we enhance the flipped learning? So right now, there are 6 to 7 steps that we have discussing just now, okay, to plan the learning outcomes, and then the assessment, and then the activities. So we have the pre-class, in-class, and outside, and post-class. So right now, on how we can enhance. The thing is, right now we can see the flipped learning in our setting. It is more towards, we are still teacher-centered, whereby everything will be done by the teachers. So right now, in order for us to go step by step, is first to get more and more involvement from the student. Okay, we can ask our student to be our co-pilot, ask them to be with us, because right now, if you first the engagement and the involvement of the student. The second one, our resources need to be modified. That means right now, in our textbook, in our notes, when we give to our student, they don't know what to do. They are not clear on what to do. Right now, if I give you my slide right now, I have 68 pages, 68 slides. If I give you straight away, for those who attended my workshop, they can understand my slide easily, right? Let's say I have another doctor from UITM, okay? Let's say Dr. Mazlina shared my slide with her or with him from UITM. Do you think that he or she will understand my slide easier? No. Why? Because in my slide, I have 68 slides. Everything that I thought only people in this room or in this particular workshop will understand. But right now, if I want my ODL, Open and Distance Learning Resources, or my flipped learning resources to be shared with others, students or other lecturers, other from this Bengkel, everything that everything that we discuss need to be documented. That means 68 slides for this particular Bengkel. If you want to share with other students or other lecturers, maybe the slide will be increased to 100 or 120. Why? Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, I have two slides. Slide number 1, 1 plus 1. Okay, slide number 2, 3. Okay, but in our normal setting, I will say 1 plus 1, and then I will change to slide number 2 equals to 3. But the word equals to, you did not document it in your PowerPoint. So we need to have 3 slides instead. 1 plus 1 equals to slide number 2, slide number 3, 3. So most of the time when we travel to several countries like India, like to Japan, like India, Bangladesh, most of the villages, like in Tamil Nadu, we go to Goa, we go to Dhaka. Most of the school and universities, they did not have any internet. Kita ni low bandwidth, high bandwidth. Most of the villages, most of the district in this southern India and even in Bangladesh, they did not have even internet, but they use radio and cassette. But they still can learn because all the cassettes and the radio, they have a radio pendidikan, educational radio from the central India in Delhi, and also they provide them with cassette. So that means the student can, when they receive the module from the school, if they have any question regarding that module, all question has been answered in that particular module. You just imagine Dr. Azra, Dr. Mazlina, I have study module. If I have question, I will text you, right? I will call you, I will text you, I will discuss with you in your class. But this comprehensive module, when I have the question, why this is A plus B equals to C, already answered in that module. That means Dr. Mazlina and Dr. Azra already embedded in that module. So if you ask me how can we enhance our flipped learning, is to revamp or if to modify our learning module and resources to be some kind of a open and distant learning system. And people are from PJJ and ODL already discussed and implemented this. So the kebergantungan or dependence level to the lectures is very low, it's very minimal, because Dr. Hamimi is already there, Dr. Mazrina is already there in the module, everything from A to Z. And the second one on how we can enhance our flipped learning is the flexibility. We say we implemented the flexible learning, but actually we are not flexible enough. You just imagine in our Malaysian education school, quote unquote, if let's say our children in standard 3, darjah 3, standard 3 in primary school, let's say they quit, they stop and quitted from their school after 5 years. Do you think that he or she can continue learning in primary school? I don't think so, right? But in India, when we visited in 2016, student, let's say after standard 3, 9 years old or 10 years old, normally they will quit from your school because of the cost and not because of the economy. They quit, they will work, or they will get married earlier at an age of 9 or at the age of 10. 20 years back, 20 years, after 20 years, they will go back to school at the age of 29 or at the age of 30. They can continue schooling. They can continue. Boleh belajar balik masuk sekolah dan umur 29 darjah 4. So this is what flexible learning is all about for me. And the second one, the flexible assessment. We're not just talking about alternative assessment, but flexible assessment. I am very fortunate to witness, okay, where the student, let's say they can, for final exam, school level, they can attend the exam. For those who can attend at 8 a.m., they will finish at 10 a.m. For those who have to go to rubber taper to go to ladang first, they will go to ladang and work first, and then you can choose 11. For those who want to sit for exam at 11, will finish at 1. For those who finish start at 2 p.m., will finish at 4. That means how big the question banks are. We have a set A, set B, set C. They have maybe 10 to 20 sets of questions for that particular standard. So this is some kind of flexible learning. So they have been implemented this since 1950s. So for me, flipped learning in this era is more about flexibility. It's more about flexibility. We need to think about how flexible our learning and teaching and learning is. If we are still compounded by the compound area of 4 walls in university, so we cannot enhance the flipped learning that much. Thank you very much, Dr. Dayang. Is there any question?
Is there any question? Thank you for your answer. So I think a bit feedback on your answer, Dr. Hamimi. Right now, as a lecturer, as instructors, we have to prepare all the sources. If let's say we are not able to be there in the class, whether in the online synchronous class, but the students still can able to continue learning from our module and from our content. So that is why we have to prepare the complete set of the module together with the answer, together with the explanation, right, Dr. Hamimi? So that the teaching and learning become more flexible. Especially in this era, the pandemic era. It might be the student who have like low bandwidth also, they are able to follow our classes through our complete module, rather than they are being left out due to the low bandwidth or any difficulties that they are facing.
Yeah, that's why if your faculty would like to have some kind of ODL for your program, let's say you have conventional setting, another one is ODL, you want 500 or 1,000 students in an ODL mode, flipped learning is the way.
I
Is
see.
the way.
Because we are now in progressing, developing the ODL program for master program right now. So we are choosing 2 faculties for the time being. So that is why I think the flipped learning, where we can be flexi in drafting, in constructing our content in terms of modules. So I think this is the best way untuk instructor lah, in order for them to implement the ODL. All right. So is there any question from participants to Dr. Hamimi? You can unmute your microphone or you can write in the chat room. Okay. All right. So I think there is no questions from the participants. So I would like to conclude our session for today. Today's is very interesting session as well, Dr. Hamimi, because we gain expanding ideas. What is the flipped learning? Okay, so with the sharing from Dr. Hamimi about the 4 pillars of flipped learning, which are the flexi environment, learning culture, intentional content, and the professional educators. And Dr. Hamimi also shared with us the Pedagogy Wheel, where we can explore the verb in the Bloom taxonomy, which able to provide us with the correct verb in our classes. And at the same time, our doctor also shared with us and we also look into the backward design model. I think this is very interesting as well for instructors in order to enhance our teaching method. Before this, it might be we are focusing on the traditional model, and right now, when we are going through this workshop, might be we can think of the backward design model. And doctor also shared with all of us the transitional from conventional to flipped classroom. So I think with that, I really hope that information for today's will assist all of us as a participant, and we can disseminate this information as well to all our friends, academics in UNIMAS, in order to implement the flipped learning in our teaching and learning. So I think there is another comment from Dr. Su. Can I read the reflection, Doctor?
Sure, Doctor.
Dr. Su said, we flip with a clear purpose, leading student a mindful and meaningful learning. Yes, Dr. Su. We flip with a clear purpose, leading student to a mindful and meaningful learning. And I would like to add on the Dr. Su as well. If we are doing the flip learning, we are giving chances to the student to share their ideas, and then to be creative in their teaching and learning. So with that, thank you very much, Dr. Nurkhamimi, the Associate Professor Dr. Nurkhamimi from USIM, because providing us with insightful, with the meaningful information on the flipped learning. This is very interesting. InsyaAllah, kita dekat UNIMAS akan cubalah implement mana yang kita boleh implement, insyaAllah. So with that, thank you very much Dr. Nurkhamimi. InsyaAllah ada masa kita akan jemput lagi in the future. Thank you for being with us to all participants, and don't forget to join our workshop this coming week in the series of workshop. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and take care everyone.